You can get to six figures by simply building the right proof and knowing the right people. My name is Damon Jones, and I've been in IT for almost 20 years. I got my first certification about 3 years ago, and I have a degree in web design, believe it or not. And I make six figures. And every job that I ever had came from someone picking up the phone and making a call on my behalf. So in this video, I want to talk about three things. I want to go over how important are certifications and when they matter and when they don't. I want to talk about three types of proof and give you some backstory on how I applied each one. And then last, I want to go over the order in which you need to go and try and obtain those forms of proof, because there is an order and most texts that I've seen tend to get that wrong. So, how important are certifications? I am going to try to keep from going on a rant because this is an area that I'm very passionate about. Now, I got my first certification just a few years ago, and if I had to do it again, certifications would still be last on my things to get. And it's not because they don't matter, right? But because you have to understand the reason behind why you are getting that certification. And I believe there are two reasons why you should try and seek out a certification. Number one, if you're going into a role and it's new to you and you're trying to gain a certain skill set, then by all means go and get the certification, because you learn that skill set and learning the lingo when you take the course or the class is what the finish line is for you. And then the certification is just a byproduct of you getting that skill set and learning the tips and the tricks of the trade for that role. It just makes sense. Now, the second reason would be if the job description says get the certification, by all means, go and get the certification. This is when you look on there and it says it's a requirement and it's either that or maybe 5 years in the space. Well, if you don't have the 5 years, go and get the certification, please. But my issue and my gripe and frustration has always been, it just seems like that is just the thing to do. And I don't believe that. Like, if you go in there and let's say you're a senior tech and someone says, hey, how do I get into IT? Don't just blindly tell them to, hey, go and get this cert or go and get that cert. The whole purpose of a certification is to prove that you know how to do said task. That's it. And what I wind up seeing is a lot of people get frustrated because they go out and they put everything they have into getting the certification, and then when it doesn't pan out for the role, then they're upset or they're mad. Someone told them to go and do this. And the times that I've interviewed people who have certain certifications, a lot of times they can't even really speak in a fashion that would make me believe that you have it. Like if it wasn't on the resume, I probably wouldn't even believe that you had one by the way that you showed up to the interview. So you're probably wondering or going to ask, like, well, if that isn't the way to go, then what actually gets you hired? And I have an equation for that. Getting hired is the right proof times the right relationship. Or said simply, it is what you can show and who is willing to talk about it. So let me break it down. There are three forms of proof. You keep hearing me talk about proof, right? The three forms are social proof, narrative proof, and paper proof. Social proof is going to be top tier, your S tier form of proof. That is when the right person puts their credibility on the line for you. It's them saying your name in a room and transferring their credibility over to you. So the power in which that is no more than a referral. That is why companies say to put on there, like write down 3 referrals, because one call from the right person can put you in a room and do for you what years of experience never could do. Like, just think about somebody famous saying your name and saying you'd be great for a job. I don't care what your experience looks like. I guarantee you, you either get the job or you jump to the front of the list, period. So a story of mine would be, back in the day, I applied for my first IT job. I applied on monster.com and I made it all the way to the hiring manager and I didn't get it. Now, fast forward about a year later, I'm talking to my girlfriend at the time. I'm talking to her father. And as we're talking, he realizes that I'm really good with computers and I'm passionate about them. And so from that point, he goes, well, Damon, if I could get you an interview, would you take it? Now, at the time, I'm 21, 22, and I'm a stockroom worker. So the leap from stockroom worker to doing some form of IT, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. So, of course, I say yes. Now, mind you, I never knew where he worked. I didn't know what he did. I was just dating his daughter. And the phone call that he makes is to NCR. It's the same place that I applied to a year ago and I didn't get. So putting this into perspective, right? It's the same job. It's the same resume. It's my same skill set because I was a stockroom worker then. I was a stockroom worker when I tried again. Everything is the same, including the interviewer. He didn't remember me, but I remembered him. And I wind up getting the job. Nothing changed about anything my way, except for the fact that someone picked up the phone and made a call. Let that sit in. I'll give you another one. So after, while I was at NCR, the later part of my career up there, I wound up getting laid off. They had a reduction in workforce. My department was a part of that. Boom, job over. I hit my best friend up. Now, he had been trying to get me to work with him since I started at NCR. So me giving him a call, I'm like, yo, bro, this is what happened, da 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 da. And the moment he found out I got laid off, he's like, hey, say less, I got you. He makes a call. Now, that phone call was worth $33,000 more than what I've been making at NCR. Why do I say that? Because they tried to start me off a little bit less than what I wanted, or a lot less than what I wanted. But the fact that I had a reference who spoke very highly of me, I was able to negotiate and say, I feel like I can start at this point. That, oh man, to this day, I thank him. And that is what social proof can do for you, and why I consider it the highest thing in the forms of proof. Second one is going to be your narrative proof. And that is not just the experience that you have, but it's knowing how to talk about it in a way that actually matters. So it's not what you did, it's what it meant to the role that you had and the company that you were with. And it gives your social proof something to stand on. So I worked, like I said, at NCR about 8 years, got laid off, boom, here I am. They gave me a career coach as a part of the severance package. And that 1 month that I got to work with them was probably the best thing that ever happened to me career-wise. We talked about my resume. Like, I thought I was pretty good with resumes. No. We talked and worked on my resume. We worked through role plays. We did interview prep. We talked about how to tell my career story. Just that has been the baseline for everything that I know and teach now. It's the stories that tell you or show your impact at a job, right? Lastly is your paper proof. That's going to be your awards, your degrees, your certifications, just anything on paper that backs up the stories that you have. And again, they're important. Like they get you considered, but they don't necessarily close the deal on their own. And most times what I see is the techs put everything that they got into the certifications, and then they wind up getting frustrated. So I wind up getting my ITIL just a few years ago. And it was only after my manager at the time told me to do so. Like there was a role coming up, and my manager reached out and was like, "Hey, Damon, this role is coming up. We think you'd like be great for it, or I think you'd be great for it. But I know the two who are going to be doing the interview. I know that they would want you, or they believe you should have the ITIL certification, and it would be a good look. So, I mean, why wouldn't I go and get it if they're telling me this?" So I went out and got it. And just from that little piece, I want you to understand the gravity of what I just said. Because it's not even a certification necessarily there. It's still social proof that is first, because it's still a reference. Like that person didn't have to tell me that at all. Like they didn't have to come to me and go, "Hey, I talked to them and they believe that you having it would be a good look for you to go and get this." If I didn't, I'm pretty sure that I still stood a chance because I was already at the company. But do you know how much more that brought to the table in me being with the company and then having what they're already looking for? Like I already have that. Come on now. So social proof, narrative proof, and then paper proof. And like I said, most techs, they lead with the certifications, and even in paper proof, certifications are the weakest of the ones there. Like me as a hiring manager, I would rather see someone with an award that means something, like you were a top performer or you were the highest seller in your on your team. Things like that. That kind of award means way more than you telling me that you went out and got your whatever the certification is, personally. And I've seen it happen multiple times. And then the other part is they never really build on the other two. And to me, that's just backwards. Like from what I've seen in my 2 decades of IT work, is that those that have the right proof and have built the proof in the right order are the ones with the awesome careers. And that's exactly what Beyond the Helpdesk teaches you to do. Because it's not just about working harder, right? It's about building the right proof in the right order and taking that and continuing to build all the way through your career. So if you're trying to get into IT, or you're wondering what skills you need next to move forward in your IT career, you're in the right place. Check us out. The link is in the description below. I'll see you there.